There we go. Good morning and welcome back to Plannercraft. I'm Natalie and today we're going to be finishing off the Snowglobe card from Monday. So what have I done so far? For those of you that didn't see the stream, we did this lovely stencil design using a combination of about 5 different distressings. So we had spun sugar, weathered wood, speckled egg and milled lavender, and then in the base we put some of the black soot and the hickory smoke, I believe. Yep, hickory smoke. We did a little bit of shading work with some coloured pencils to kind of fill in the gaps as well. So if I hold that up, you can see that we've got a bit more of a joined up section around these little dot sections now. And I want to turn it into an actual card design. So first thing is I've actually changed my card size up, so I'm going to be going to a 10 by 7 instead of 7 by 5 as I originally said. And because of that, it basically means that we're going to want to cut our card base around the, essentially for what seems to us the wrong way. So we're going to put our A4 card with our design portrait so that our design is line landscape, and we're going to pop that onto a mat. You could use your scan mat for this if you want, but just to try and make things a little bit quicker, we are going to use our sticky mat. So don't be afraid to say hi and let us know that you're watching. And I'm going to pop that into my machine. To the scan and cut. So loading your mat. And we are going to go to scan and scan to cut data, because I want to have a template of the design. Now this may not be perfect, which is why I'm using scan to cut data, so that we can do things like add a circle over that snowflake area so that we get a perfect circle for when we do our additional layers. Now because there is very little contrast, because we've got this paler shading, then what we're going to want to do is leave that as a colour setting on our scan to cut data. So remember to lower your scanner lever, it will prompt you as you can see, and just start. Okay, so now we're being asked to frame our image, and that means moving these 2 sets of arrows so we get as close to our image but without actually cutting into it. And the closer that we can get, the less computing time you're going to need for it to work out where it's going. We can also use that action to actually fool the computer to a certain extent if you need to get to like the inside of shapes as well. So we're going to go OK. Just going to have a think about it. Hi Dulcie. So let's see what it's pulled up. We are going to go all the way around the outside. We don't need inside and outside. And we've kind of got a missing section here and obviously the snowflakes, but we were expecting that anyway. So let's take our ignore object size up and see if that's going to change anything. Okay, so it's done this base as a separate shape. So let's pop that back down. We'll go OK. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save that and I'm just going to save it to my machine. Okay, no I'm not. I'm going to save it to the USB. Need to do something clear down on my machine. So with that saved to our USB, we can go home to reset. Okay, and we can remove our card from our mat. And hi JMB Impact over on Twitch. So next we're going to go to retrieve data, and we're going to go and get our file from our USB. Like so. And we're going to go OK. Now what we want to do is just to clean up that scan, so it's going to be a little bit easier for us to use. And the easiest way to do that is using basic shapes. So we're going to go to add pattern, basic shapes. We're going to scroll down first of all to our circle, because we can see straight away that that's going to help us. And we're just going to set it onto the mat. Don't worry about size at this point. So let's drag that over the top. Try and get it into the middle. We can go to edit, go to our move function, and we can just nudge that using the arrow keys. Then we go OK. So our circle looks like it's been squished a little bit in the top of our snow globe, so we can kind of get that same squish look by using our ratio function. So first of all, what you want to concentrate on is getting the height right, but remember we're looking at it the other way around at the moment. So let's take that like that, and we can see that although it's nearly touching at the top here, in actual fact it's still slightly off on these sides, so we can use our ratio button. So that's going to turn blue, and that means we can alter our height and width independently. So let's pop our height up so that we get a bit more of a squished. Now if we don't get this spot on, it's not going to hurt too much, because we're going to be doing offsets and things, at which point we can sort this out. So I'm going to go OK. Now if we go to select all, back to object, and then go to weld, it may throw a wobbly if something's not quite touching, but we'll see how it goes. Thinking about it. No, some of them aren't touching obviously, so there's one down here I think. So how can you fix it? Let's click off, and I'm going to start with my selection window, and I'm just going to go into this bottom section down here and go OK, so that we get all those selected, and let's weld those and see how it goes. Okay, there's something in there that's not touching either. So rather than try and fiddle about, that's a good cue to go and get another shape. And I'm just going to go and grab a thin rectangle like so and set that on my mat. So you'll notice I'm never trying to resize to fit when we're in that initial window, because at the end of the day it's a bit hard to judge sizes when you're looking on your screen.
Is that Linda popped up all day?
It is Linda.
Good morning, Linda.
So I'm going to go to Object Edit, and I'm going to go to Rotate, rotate it 90 degrees, and bring that over where I need it to go. And go OK. I'm going to go to Resize. You'll notice that your ratio button has turned itself back off. That's absolutely fine. And we can take that back down, like so. Okay. So let's try again and see if we can do this weld. So I'm going to take that window, let's shrink it right down to where our active rectangle is and go OK. So we've got a few bits and pieces there. Oh no, not that one. And weld. Okay, so there's some tiny little pieces that are getting in our way. What can we do? So I'm going to go OK. Let's go to our multi-select so we deselect everything. And we can get our window and we can shrink it down. And shrink it down this way. So I'm taking it past that rectangle. Okay, so we've got a selection. So now if we go to zoom, and we can zoom right in to 400%, we can scroll using our side buttons here and at the bottom, and we can see what is going on. So we've got some that are just floating where basically where the stencil's gone. So we need to adapt how we're going to kind of weld over those areas. So if I bring this up here and we've got a curve to this bottom edge here, so we need to put a curve in the basic shape. So I'm going to go OK, and let's go and add something that has a curve to that bottom edge. So it could be that we use an ellipse because that would have a curve. Sometimes, however, one of the other basic shapes might be a bit better for doing that. So let's go for this one. So 180. Now, if you're working on an SDX 900 or I believe a 135, you won't have that particular shape, but you can just use a circle and just kind of warp it to where you need it to go. So let's set that onto my map. Come on. There we go. Need that on its own. Object edit, rotate 90 degrees. Bring this over here. So we can see that the curve is right, but the size most definitely is not. So at this point we can resize it. Now resizing is always going to work from the centre, so if you have positioned something you're going to need to just nudge it back to where it needs to go. So I'm going to go OK, OK, and to move, if we can zoom in, and I'm going to zoom in to 400% so that I can see that nice and clearly. And take that down there. And I'm going to use the move buttons, which is these top four, to move it across. Now, because it hasn't quite finished off this scan down here, I'm going to kind of take a bit of a guess as to where it's going. So first of all you want to make sure that it's centred. So I'm going to go by the feet for the centering. Let's go there, and I'm going to bring it down just a notch or two because we've got this kind of curve that comes back here. So this curve actually comes back around that way. We can go OK. Now hopefully this time when I go select all and weld, it will do it so that I don't have to do too much on those feet. Okay, so there's a few little bits and pieces that it's still having holes in, but that's okay because we're getting there, it's close enough. So I'm going to go OK and let that apply. And morning, Mum. So with that done, because we don't want to cut directly out of our card, what we want to do is kind of create a little frame for it to sit in. So what I'm going to do is use offset, and then we can allow that to kind of smooth out our cut line for us. So I'm going to go to offset, and you want a positive figure because it's going to be going outside of that snow globe. So, and let's go about there. So we don't want to go too much of a white border, so I'm going to go OK at that. Now I'm going to delete that original shape so that I've just got my offset shape. That then means that we can see if there are any additional shapes going on. We can see straight away that at the moment there's no other shapes on the map because our two selection arrows are greyed out. If we go into Object Edit and check, we can see that the group button is greyed out, so that means that there's just one shape on the mat. Now we can take our pink card that we're going to create the first layer of our frame with, and I'm going to pop that onto my mat. Now what I will do, rather than sticking it up in that top left hand corner, I'm going to bring it down one notch on the grid. So 1 inch from the top, 1 inch from the side. And the reason that we do that is because when we do a scan, because of the active area, we actually lose part of our scan too. So if you want to centre something, which is what we're going to want to do with our frame, you're better off bringing it in and down a bit so that you know you've got the full extent of that card. Yeah, or use your foil shield if you're going to do some foiling. Which was the original intention with this, but we'll get there. Maybe, if we have time. So, I'm going to go OK. OK, and I need to do a background scan. And send that on its way. So we have our card, and now we can position our shape wherever it needs to go. So I'm going to aim to get it roughly in the middle. Now my card, as in the actual card base, is 10 by 7 and the pink card is A5, so I know it's going to fit within, so I'm not having to worry about necessarily getting the alignment the same between my frame inner and my actual card base. If you need to do it with the frame inner and the card base, that's also a good time to use your foil shield so that you are aligning it correctly. So we can go OK, and let's have that. Now with scans you tend to get little notches and things that you might have not been able to see on the preview. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to my vinyl blade and just pop that in. I'm going to go to cut. Make sure your half cut is off, and I'm just going to change the pressure because I think if I remember correctly I was going down -1. Actually, let's leave it there because it's been doing a lot of cutting, so pressure one might be okay for it. So let that go. So you may have all seen that I have put up the new cheat sheet for Affinity V2 as in designer. That is going to be considerably bigger than the last one, because whereas our previous cheat sheets have all been a double-sided A4, this one is going to be a double-sided A3 and folded to an A4, and that's available to purchase over on our SumUp store, which is plannercraft.sumupstore.com. So I have to say that you will find that there are a lot of shortcuts that have either been taken out entirely or changed. So please don't buy the V1 version if you are using V2. The two really aren't that much alike in terms of shortcuts. Okay. So we have frame for our snow globe. Now if we put this round here, we can see it's got a little bit of a alteration there, but we can fix that. I don't mind doing that bit manually. So that bit's right, it's just this section here that's a little bit wrong, and it's a good idea at this point just to check it and make sure that you're happy with everything, so that if you do any manual changes like this bit here, that you can also make sure you change it over on the scan and cut as well. So while I might do that manually on here, I think what I'm going to do is, because I'm happy with this side here, we can actually duplicate it, mirror it, and then weld it, and I think that might give us the effect that we are looking for. So let's get the inners off the mat. Get my spatula. So metal spatulas will tend to help you do that a little bit easier.
Hello.
Okay. So I'm going to go okay. I'm going to go back and...
Not today, thank you. No, it's fine. No, I'm not interested.
Wait. So let's go to scan and cut. And I'm going to take that. Now, this is an important thing to note. With reflections in the scan and cut, you don't have flip in both horizontal and vertical, you only have it horizontal. So if we were to flip that moment, all that's going to do is put these feet over there. So you are going to want to rotate it first. So we're going to rotate it back to the 90. We're going to duplicate it. Okay. Now, to get this next bit right, what we need to do is make sure that they are aligned. So I'm going to go to Select All, Move, Align, and align it to centre and centre. So they are in exactly the same place. Go OK, OK, back to multi-select and just tap off everything. Then, when you go out of multi-select, it will pick one of them. Doesn't matter which one, because they're both in the same place. We can then flick it round, and we can see that we've got kind of a double outline going on. We can select all and weld. Go OK, and we then know that we've got perfect outline for our card base. So rather than trying to do this manually before we've done this bit, do this bit first, and then we can sort out the layer once we're kind of sticking that in place before we put our snow globe in.
Morning, Deb.
Morning, Deb. So let's get our card base. Now this is 10 by 7, so it's actually going to be bigger than our mat. But same rules apply. We're going to drop it down that 1 inch and just let the bottom hang off the end.
Don't forget to re-rotate you.
Yeah, you need to re-rotate your snow globe, but you also need to do your positioning. So our rotation is we're going to go back this way because we've put the cards at the front is at the top. Otherwise this could go horribly wrong. Nobody wants an upside down snow globe. Okay. And then what I would say is if you're working with a white card on a white mat, give yourself a little bit of a guide. So, nice colourful masking tape. And you don't have to do like the whole sides. It's just there as a reference. I'm going to pop my masking tape up against the edge of my card. Just so I can see where the edge is. And pop that onto my mat. I'm going to do the same at the top. And then I'll show you a little trick for how we can line. I'm also going to do the same with the score line as well, because again that'll be white on white, so it can make it a little bit tricky to see. Just be really careful with these when you come to taking them off, but it is on the back of the card, so you should be alright. And do the same at the top edge, like so. So I'm going to then go OK, and I'm going to do a background scan, and then you'll see my tape.
Morning Sylvie, morning Corin. Let's tell them what they've missed so far.
So what you've missed so far is me scanning the stenciling that I did Monday, and then adapting that scan using basic shapes. So basically our stencil, if you want to pop back overhead for a moment, is the lovely snow globe from Sweet Poppy Stencils. But obviously it has lots of white gaps in, so when you do a scan to cut data, it's going to pick up a lot of those white gaps. Well, what we want to do is actually create an outline around it. So we did scan to cut data to get the actual scan of the stenciling. Then what we did was we added a circle over the top of our snow globe section, a rectangle over our base section, and then we had to do like a fan shape to do this bottom edge here, so that you then get something that looks like this. Then what we did is for the card base, we've just duplicated that, aligned it back to centre, flipped one, welded the two together, so we should have a symmetrical shape. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully it'll be spot on. So we can now see our 4 pieces of masking tape that I've put on, so I can see where the front of my card is, because I'm working onto a white card on a white mat. So the masking tape is just there to say it's here. Now, I know my card is a 10 by 7 card when folded, so I'm going to go to add pattern, basic shapes, get a rectangle, and it's a 10 by 7 inch, so it's going to be easier for me to swap over to inches to set this rectangle. Now, it may throw a hissy fit just because we'll try and put it in a clean space on the mat, but we'll see how we go. So there we go, 10 by 7. Now that's the mat. It was going to do that. So in which case, if you are trying to do something like that where you want it on an exact size, take it down a bit in here, just so it fits onto the mat. A little bit more. But then when we're in this view, we can actually kind of override it. So we're going to get to edit, object edit, and then to resize and put that back up to its 10 by 7. And we can line that up using our masking tape. So then we know where the front of our card is. Okay, and we'll go OK. Okay again. So with that there, we're going to go to multi-select. Select all, because we want to get our snow globe selected as well. And we'll go OK. That's glaring a little bit today, isn't it?
I need to.
Just a little. So hopefully you can see roughly where the snow globe is. We can go into move, into align, and then because we're working sideways, you want to go for that centre there so that we know that it's going into the centre of our card front. And then it's up to you whether you want to also do the alignment horizontally to the middle too, so that you know your snow globe is bang in the centre, or if you want to push it up a little bit up towards the top of the card. So I think what I might do for this one is let it go into the middle. And we can go OK. I'm just going to tap away from those shapes so that it goes back to selecting just one. And as it's got our card front selected, we're going to bin it. Like so. And the reason that we do that is if we didn't bin it, it would try and cut that too. Which obviously means that you then end up with two pieces of card rather than a nice card blank. So let's go OK. And one more thing before I go, nearly, is I need to do a little bit of an offset so that again we see that pink layer beneath. So let's go to offset and we're going to go up. And because it's quite a nice pink card, we want to see a little bit of it. So we can go for a bigger border. Okay. So I'm going to go OK, and it's still got that original centre shape selected. So at this point I can just get rid of that. OK. And we've got our outer frame. And we know it's aligned because we aligned the original shape, and an offset is applied evenly around our shape. So all that remains to do is to cut the cards. I'm going to go OK, OK, cut. And the joy of the SDX is that you don't even have to change the blade. You can just go start. Now obviously if you are working on a CM, make sure that you do change your blade between materials, just so that you don't overcut or undercut. So, any questions while we're waiting? Peel that off, and there's our card front with our snow globe. Then our pink layer is going to sit within that, so let's just get that levelled up. So now we can see that we have this little bit here that needs fixing, but that's okay. So when we're doing our layers, what we need to do is actually use a little bit of wet glue so that we're giving ourselves a little bit of wiggle room. But if you align this up first, And let's take a piece of that masking tape, and I'm just going to de-tack it a little bit because obviously this is going to go on the inside of a card. And I just want some little tiny bits of tape just to kind of hold these in place temporarily. So let's get this right where I want it, like so. And let's write a little bit there. A little bit there. And it's just so that we don't accidentally move it. Like so. So we can open up our card. Let's grab some double-sided just for speed for today. Because we've done the masking tape, we can just reach double-sided and do that.
Is there a reason you put it on the white and not on the pink? On the back of the card, not on the strips of pink?
Because if you do it onto the pink, it's much harder to see where you need to apply your tape. Because obviously on the pink, your white only reaches up to this edge here. So if you accidentally get your tape in just the wrong place, it's going to show through on the front of your card.
Yep. He's not afraid to ask the question.
Yeah, you're always welcome to ask questions. And there's no such thing as a daft question either, is there?
No. Just the ones I ask.
It's not a daft question, you know. If you're not used to doing it. Okay. So this could be a shaker card, for instance. So you know, don't think, oh, I wouldn't do it like that. I'd matten it upwards. Sometimes you want to go inwards for things like shakers. Or if you have some of the little plastic bubbles that you can fill with shaker elements, then you would use the same technique. But more on templates tomorrow. So don't forget, we have our free workshop starting at 2 PM UK time. Please check your local time if you're not in the UK. And it's probably going to be a long one because our workshops are usually either a full day or a half day. So definitely make sure you've had food first, especially if when you see what we're going to be doing. If you have the kit already, you're not going to be wanting to eat while you're doing it because it's not good for you. Shall I say yet what we're doing in?
Yeah, you can say it tomorrow, isn't it?
It's only tomorrow. So we are going to be doing UV resin using the scan and cut. So if you have wanted to do a bit of jewellery making, then you're going to want to watch that one because we're going to be using some bezels and moulds to actually make some pendants. So I thought that'd be a really fun one to do for your free workshop. It also gives a few different skills with the scan and cut, because obviously you can't stick a mould in your scan and cut, so you have to do a little bit of work to be able to actually be able to use your scan and cut with your moulds. Will the free workshop be on YouTube for watching later as an appointment at 3:30? Yes, it will. It's going to be exclusive to YouTube because it's celebrating the fact that we have 1,000 subscribers over on YouTube. So it's not going to be on Facebook. It's going to be going direct to YouTube. And I will pop out a link later, just as long as I remember to set it up. So it will be there waiting for you to do a reminder. Deb, that's a shame that you're going to miss it. So, now that we've done that, we can kind of remove our masking tape and let's fix that pink layer. There we go. So I'm just going to grab a pair of scissors and I'm just going to sort out this bit just here so that I can kind of follow that round all the way around to there. There we go. Nice, simple. One snip and done. Okay. So now we're going to bring in our original stenciling and we can move that to where it needs to go. Like so. And what I'm going to do is just grab a pencil, of which there should be one on my desk, but, and I'm just going to mark where the edge of my card is, like so. Okay. Now, if we want it to be nice and neatly finished off on the inside, what you can do is put a nice insert in once we've done this nice section. So don't think, oh, I've got to get it perfect. Now, trimmer. That's a jolly good question. You know when you know you had it a minute ago?
What are you doing there?
What have I done with it? I can see it. It's back in the drawer. Being far too efficient with the tidying.
Put it away.
So, let's get this trimmed. You want to cut within that mark that you've just made, because that's where the edge of your card is. So I'm going to go about there, like so. So I'm going to pop that in and just have a look, see what that's looking like on the inside. That's not too bad. It's going to show a little bit of the pink at the bottom, but that's okay. That's what they invented printed inserts for. So again, we're going to apply masking tape, but this time we're going to have to kind of hold it in place while we do so. So over a little bit. Okay. So let's just pop that there. And that. Make sure I'm happy with that. Yep. So bear in mind that you're going to have to peel this off later. You want to make sure that your adhesive doesn't go too close to your masking tape, either the top or the bottom. And you only want it to be a little piece, because obviously if you're trying to open your card, that is essentially going to be stuck to the back when we first open it. So keep it to little pieces. So same again, round the pink this time.
Corin's solved her issue with the sizing. She's gone back to Monterey.
Yeah, I did think it was a Ventura issue. I know that the tracing definitely is I was going to say an iOS. It's not iOS, Mac OS issue.
It's nearly the same.
Nearly. You never know. One day we might get an iPad app for the scan and cut other than the not Spira. You never know. Spira. It's nearly as good as Lumberjack. Now, do you say plaid or do you say plaid? Because I'm erring more on the plaid, but I know Americans tend to say plaid. So, weird one.
Plaid or plaid?
Plaid or plaid, yeah, the new distress colour. So I tend to just call it Lumberjack because it's just easier. Okay, so with that peeled there. Now, obviously if we were to close that and stick that, that's going to do a lovely adhesive around here, but then our white card is going to be kind of flapping. So we need to kind of go in the other direction too. Now you want to avoid your masking tape for obvious reasons, but you also want to leave a bit of gap either side so that we can get that tape out. So I'm just going to put a little bit at the bottom in either corner just to stop it flapping too much, and same at the top. Like so. And then we're going to go for straight down the sides. So just do a quick check, don't let it actually place down until you take the backing up. It's looking pretty good. Okay, so let's take these backing papers off this tape. So when I'm doing this, I'm keeping one hand on the card to try and make sure it doesn't shift. This is where you say some prayers. Hope you've got everything right and lined up. Okay. And then it's just whatever sentiment you want to put at the top or at the bottom or both. So if you wanted to, you could have foiled it already. Just going to carefully take those little bits of masking tape away and smooth everything down. And then when you do your insert, what you would do is stick it into the front of your card so that you're keeping all the messy stuff out of sight. And ta-da! So hopefully that's given you a bit of a different way of working with your stencils and stamps. And if you haven't got a Snowglobe template or stencil, then you can actually cut one onto your scan and cut and do it that way. So you could use Mylar, you could use some craft plastic. I think both of which I've put links up to fairly recently, but if not, just reach out and I can give you a link as to what I use. And I hope you've enjoyed that, and I will see you tomorrow for the free workshop. If I don't see you there, then we will be back on Monday. Well, I will be back on Monday Ian will not. Oh, you dear.
No.
So, no Ian for next week. Yeah, the colours are fab, and the card has already been given a new home, shall I say, hasn't it, Mum? But you're welcome, Corinne, and Delcy, and Linda, and thank you, Delcy. Look forward to seeing you next week when we'll be doing something a little bit different. So tomorrow we're doing UV resin. Next week we're going to be doing something with MDF. And possibly the scan and cut too. You might get a look in, you never know. So take care and bye.